This is Puck Time. I'm excited to be here, and I'm excited to have Andy Lang making his debut of the season with us here on Puck Time as well. My usual co-host, partner in crime, Carmine Bianco, with me. Got a handful of games to go over. We got best bets at the end of the show, and of course, stay tuned for the 6 in 60 segment. We got 6 picks in 1 minute from Mr. Carmine Bianco himself. Let's start things off with the Minnesota Wild in Buffalo to take on the Buffalo Sabres here. The Minnesota Wild played last night, but man, they could not get pucks by the New York Rangers. Unfortunately, I did not pull trigger on that under, but I did talk about it on the show. How do you expect this one to go? Back-to-back games here for the Minnesota Wild, Carm.
Yeah, this should be an interesting one. I was going to wear my Sabres jersey, but it's a Jack Eichel jersey. It's not a Devon Levi jersey. I pronounced that correctly, Andrew. You see there?
No.
Hooked on phonics works. Listen, I'm excited to watch this game just because I want to see. I thought Minnesota was starting to turn the corner, and then they go into New York last night. I'm not going to say they laid a dud because it wasn't a dud. They played well, but I just don't know. It's the second of a back-to-back. They're heading to Buffalo. The Sabres, the Sabres haven't been bad at home, or haven't been bad at all this season. Aside from losing their first couple games of the season, they haven't lost 2 straight games since, and they're pretty much zigzagging. And again, when I mention the zigzag, it is not a handicapping thing. It's just something you talk to your buddies about. But it seems like a lot of teams are zigzagging this year. You get one good one out of them, and then you get one absolute stinker. I talk about the Sabre games and how they are normally home games for the visiting team because you get so many other fans in there that can get tickets cheap, even from in the lower bowl from the subscribers. This is one that might actually be a Sabres home game in Buffalo. I look at the total here first, and I could not find anything as far as just standard core numbers. I couldn't find anything that would get me on the over or under. The Wild 9-3-1 to the over. That looks great, 73.1%. The Sabres, a team that was high flying last year, scored a ton of goals, allowed a ton of goals as well too. Are only 5-8, 38.5% this season to the over. Those aren't good numbers. You can dive deeper. You can go into 5-on-5s, 5-on-4s, and then you start to see something that will trend towards possibly the over here. But and especially with Minnesota on a back-to-back. But I'm going to take the Sabres. It's a very low price on Buffalo. If I was getting, I'll tell you this much: if the Sabres were a bigger favorite tonight, where there was plus money on Minnesota, I might stay off this game. But it's a buy low price on the Sabres, and I need to see Minnesota start to win a bunch of games before, kind of like what some of the other better teams are starting to do now. Before I can I can take them in a back to back. So it's Gustafsson tonight for them because Marc-Andre Fleury started last night. So we're pretty sure that's who will be in goal tonight. But I'm going to take the Sabres at a buy low price of 120, and it's not a homer bet. It's taking advantage of a team that's on the second of a back-to-back. Andy, welcome to the show. I'm happy we were able to get our the contract signed with you. It took a bunch of drink tickets from the Westgate to get you back on this show. But are you looking at some player props in this one? And welcome again to Puck Time.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, there's several ways that you can go about this. And I'm having a really good start to the NHL season, 9-5. Really happy with that. I've been getting very creative with some of the alt lines. And then the other nice thing has been this Minnesota Wild team, man. This defense is just terrible. They're part of the terrible three. This is Edmonton, San Jose, and Minnesota. They're 3 teams allowing 4 more goals per game. 9th most shots on goal allowed. They have the worst penalty kill percentage in the league. Last night the Rangers just had it looked like just a horrible power play. They couldn't get anything going. They kept turning the puck over, and then all of a sudden, like with a couple seconds left, they get a wide open goal. So the way I've been approaching this Wild team is playing the other team on the team total over. And when I see a top half of the scoring a team playing the Minnesota Wild, you can just take over 2.5 goals. And it's hit 8 out of 10 games against the Wild. The only two to not do are the Islanders and the Flyers. They're below average scoring team. So I think the Sabres get it done. They can be a tough team to figure out. They beat the Flyers 5-2, then they lose to the Flyers 5-1. They beat Toronto 6-4, then they lose to Carolina 3-2 to overtime. So they can be a little inconsistent, but I do expect goals in this game. I'm going to keep fading this Wild defense, and if I think there's going to be goals, I have to go with Rasmus Dahlin. He's minus 160, but him to have a point, he's had a point in 10 out of the last 12 games. Should be plenty of scoring opportunities for tonight. So that's how I'm looking at this game.
I love it. I can't believe that the Minnesota Wild are being put in the same category as the Sharks, and some teams like that, and the Oilers defensively. But Andy's right. I mean, this Minnesota defense has not been what it was over the past few years. If you look at Minnesota, their reputation has been known for being good at defense, stopping teams, winning low-scoring games. I'm not sure what the plan was for this team at training camp and going into this season, but for some reason, things have changed. I know they've, lost a couple guys here and there. The team's changed throughout the season, but I'm right there with Andy, and I agree that we talk about the spot. And Carm, I don't think you're a Homer Simpson here. I think that you're just accurate. I think you're right. I think that I think we see that the result just like the way you guys talked about it. I like the team total over for Buffalo. If you look at their schedule against teams like Hurricanes, as Andy mentioned there, against teams like the Avalanche, against good defensive teams, the Buffalo Sabres don't show up. Against below par defensive teams, they really show up. And I think that sometimes you have to simplify things and just say, this team is not scoring against really good defensive teams. And when they get the opportunity, and now it's a back-to-back position here. And one thing I find really funny, guys, the Minnesota Wild fan base always complains about calls. They always say that their guys are getting tripped and it's not being called. Analytically, they are power rated number 22 in the league, 5-on-5. 5-on-4, they rank number 4 in the league. So actually, it seems like you guys are the ones benefiting from power plays, not the other teams. So I'll take Buffalo team total over the 3.5, Carmen, and I think it's a good night for your Sabres.
I got a lot of rebuttals here. First of all, you guys, Don Cherry said that on CBC and got fired. Just to let you know about that one. Number two,
you people.
You people. Sorry. Number two. Andy says Rasmus Dahlin, and you don't say anything to him. It's Dahlin. I get killed by you every time I get Devon Levi's name wrong. But then again, you're a Montreal fan. Your goalie was Pat Roy, and you guys want us to call him Patrick Waugh. Your coach is Martin St. Louis, but we have to call him Marty St. Louis. I don't know what is wrong with you Montreal people, Andrew, but let's talk Carolina and Florida.
Oh, boy. Well, I'll tell you what. I do another show with Andy called Prop It Up, and I can tell you what, when I've mispronounced a few names, he's let me know after the show for the most part. So I appreciate that. We'll move on to our next game here. And Andy's, it seems like when there's only been a few games on the slate in the NHL, they've actually been pretty good games. And I'm curious what your take is on the next one, Hurricanes and the Panthers. Obviously a battle of two teams that have high hopes for this season.
Yeah, high hopes, but the Hurricanes, at least their defense is playing a lot better. Terrible start to the season. They allowed 4.7 goals in the first 7 games of the season, 1.8 goals allowed in their last 6 games. However, not great competition, not that many explosive offenses in that 6-game span. The schedule for the Hurricanes is crazy. 11 of their first 15 games are on the road. And this is going to be the first night of a back-to-back. So the schedule maker is doing them no favors. The Panthers, they're 4-1 at home, only losses to Vancouver. No shame in that one. I think I like the over slightly in this one. The Hurricanes have scored 3 or more in 5 out of 6. I believe both teams have won their last 2 games in overtime. It's kind of weird one there. I'm enjoying taking some of these guys to not have a point this year. I'm 2-0 this week in fading some of these guys. I've got one for my best bet. But I think you can look at Brent Burns to not have a point. It's minus 140, 7 straight games without a point. He's not consistent at all with his shot numbers, and Florida's 11th best in not allowing points to defenders. Andrew, Carm, when we look at shots on goal and points, everyone looks towards the over. I've really been enjoying playing some of these guys on teams that struggle to score. San Jose is just the gift that keeps on giving to take some of those guys to not have a point. So I'm enjoying these guys to not have a point. I might keep riding the streak of Brent Burns here.
Betting someone to get a point or to score a goal is so much more fun, but we're in this to make money, not just have fun watching the games. You don't have to have fun cheering these bets on. And I think that Brent Burns is a guy that's so streaky, and you get a pretty good price on that one. So I do like that one, Andy. And Carm, for a team like Carolina, it's not like they've been incredibly high scoring lately. So when you're betting against guys to do well, I think it's good because, they're kind of getting back to being an under team. Are you looking to buy on this Hurricanes team right now, though, Carm? As Andy stated, they've been on the road. They've been in this crazy, crazy schedule. Are they a bet on for you right now?
They are a bet on me for sure, Andrew. I like the way this team is playing right now. It's kind of like and Andy alluded to how they started their season. It was an extended road trip, and they literally got pounded on that road trip, allowing goals. It's kind of like the Rocky quote. Rocky quote is how hard you can get hit. You just keep moving forward. And they took a pounding, man. But look at this team. This team, 5-1 their last 6, allowed 2 or fewer goals in 5 of those. They're just playing so well. This is at the start of the season, I said Carolina's improved to the point where I thought, and I'm always going to get slack from people on this, I think they're the best team in the NHL. I think their defense is the best defense in the league. The only worry you're ever going to have with Carolina is, are the goalies going to stand up in the playoffs? Anti-Rant, you have Freddie Anderson, who's out right now because of a blood clotting issue. So you've got a different goalie in goal tonight as well too. I'm not worried about the goalie tonight in tonight's game. If it's supposed to be, and I'm not even going to try and pronounce this guy's name because I butcher. I think it's Kochikov, but with that said, listen, the guy he's 0-3 on the season. If you look at his numbers without looking at where those came from, you're like, this guy, he's 0-3. His goals against average is over 4. That was all part of that road trip where he had to step in, and the team wasn't playing well. And then they ended their road trip in Tampa Bay. Imagine going from the West Coast down to Florida to play one game against Tampa. They lose that game 3-0. Then they return home and start this streak where they've won 5 of their last 6. They're playing extremely well. It's no disrespect to Florida. Florida's playing well, 7-2-1 their last 10 games, and they're doing it without their 2 top defensemen and Sam Bennett as well too, who's injured, right? So this team is treading water until they can get all their guys back. We're going to be back soon, and then Florida will probably go on a nice little run themselves. I had picked them to finish second in the Atlantic behind Toronto. That Toronto pick absolutely sucks right now. But with that said, I'm taking Carolina here. It's a low price. You can get them at like 125 to 130, and I have to believe that it's going to go up a little higher. We could see 135, maybe even 140. I haven't checked the live lines yet, but it's the Canes for me tonight, and this will likely make my card.
The traveling around North America does kind of concern me a little for Carolina. But when I look at this Florida team, I've only seen them play well, guys, against teams that they should play well against. There hasn't been one real time that they've stepped up in competition, and I've said, you know what, Florida really impressed me tonight. And even against a team like Washington, they only win by 1 goal. They beat them 4-3. They played teams like Chicago recently, Columbus, Detroit, San Jose. I mean, when I look towards Florida's recent games, there haven't been that many that have absolutely just blown me out of the water that I've been really impressed. So when you look at this point in the season, it's really important when you're handicapping games not to just check the standings, right? Okay, well, this team has this record, they're a worse team than this team. And I think that I like how Carolina has been playing a much better defensive brand of hockey. They started the season off, I think, with like 4 of their first 5 games going over the total. And now we've seen 6 of their last 7 go under the total. And anybody that knows this Hurricanes team knows that they play their best hockey when they're playing low scoring games, first to 3 wins. Getting in shootouts with teams is not really their style. So I feel like it's a friendly price here. And just even looking at a victory, I know a win is a win, but the way that Florida even beat Washington the other day, it wasn't very impressive to me. They just kind of scraped by, got the win. They haven't had very dominant victories against really good teams. So I am as well on the Carolina Hurricanes. Guys, we like to promote other NHL handicappers, and Brian Leonard, who is a usual guest here on the show, has a 5% play up and available tonight at WagerTalk.com, 5% NHL play. He's done very well during his time with WagerTalk, of course, in the NHL, #1 lifetime, and a very great long-term record as well. You can use the promo code BL20. That's BL20. Take $20 off Brian's 5% play going tonight in the NHL. And you know what? I didn't have it pulled up at the time, but I want to pull it up because it's very impressive. 41-22. That's Brian's record with 5% plays in the NHL in his career. That's impressive. Guys, make sure you check it out over at WagerTalk. Brian's 5% NHL play. Now, Carm, it's been a busy schedule for the Maple Leafs. You just talked about that play you have for the full season. We're really early on in the year, man, but they've got a tough schedule coming up. They have the Flames tonight, and tomorrow the Vancouver Canucks. What do you have for us tonight in this one?
Boy, it's Maple Leafs time, isn't it? Leafs and Flames. Like, I look at the line of this one, and Toronto's -150. That is a low line on Toronto, but rightfully so. You look at the Leafs, and they are 1 OT goal against Tampa Bay on Monday nights when I was out with Ben Burns, who was in town having dinner, and they're 1 OT goal from being on a 6-game losing streak, and the city would absolutely blow up. It is unbelievable. It's already blowing up anyways. Everyone, there's excuses. You're hearing it from everyone. I don't know what's wrong with the Leafs. They're just not playing defense. This team, their forwards aren't coming back. You look at the NHL, and I talked about the tread lightly the first 7 to 10 days, but we're past that. We're well past that. We're a month into the season now, and you've got guys who aren't contributing on this team, on Toronto specifically. We're talking about Marner. He goes games without getting points. Matthews, sure, he gets 3 one game, but then he looks somewhat invisible for a couple of other games. And all Toronto, they talk about their core 4. Something has to happen with this team. If they lose to the Calgary Flames tonight, which very well could happen, something needs to happen. I know you can't hit the panic button, but we're 13 games into the season, 12 or 13 games into the season. And at some point, you can put yourself in such a hole that you just don't get out of it. And we've seen teams do it. The New York Islanders last year, horrible start to the season. Were never able, even when they went on a big run, weren't able to claw themselves back into it. Leafs have a ton of talent on that team, but they're not utilizing it. They're not playing it. They're not playing a 200-foot game at all. Too many mistakes from their defensive corps. You can't use injuries and excuses as excuses. This team is not playing well. Now you got Calgary coming in, and this is an informed play for me. The Leafs are not playing well. Calgary comes in. They finally got a couple of wins, and sometimes you get that monkey off your back, and it just steamrolls. One turns into. They went to Seattle to play the Kraken, and I said that is where their season could turn around. And then they win their next game, and now they've got 2 under their belts. Who knows? This road trip could string together some wins for the Calgary Flames, and all of a sudden they are back in form. I can't take the Leafs. You're not going to catch me taking Toronto at -150. I'm taking the Flames tonight, +130. This has nothing to do with my rivalry with Leafs or Leafs fans. This has everything to do with the fact that how do you lay money on a team that has lost 5 of their last 6? and their core players are not playing well. That is what this team is happening with this team right now. Give me the Calgary Flames tonight, plus 130, playing a little bit better defensively. Let's see what they can do tonight in Toronto. Andy, give me your thoughts.
Well, if we're talking Maple Leafs, we got to bring up the most amazing streak that is going on in NHL right now, and that's Nylander. He's had a point in every single game. That's 13 in a row to start the season. You go back to last season, he had points in the last 3 games. 16 straight games with a point. This is the guy. The longest streak he had last year was 7. And I went back. I looked at his career stats. His longest streak ever in his career is 8 games in a row. So this guy's doubled it. And what I'm looking at is you're getting almost 2-1 to have him to not have a point. He's not going to have a point in every single game this season. So I'm trying to find the spot where the streak is going to come to an end. You got Calgary giving up 3 or more goals in every game except one. I think what I'm going to do is wait and see what happens tonight. If he gets a point tonight, I'm going to come back and take him to not get a point tomorrow. It's going to be around plus 180, plus 190. It's a back-to-back. It's against Vancouver, the second best team of not allowing goals. So I'm trying to predict when this incredible streak is going to come to an end. I hope I don't miss my chance tonight. But if he gets a point tonight, you're going to get an amazing price tomorrow, and I look like a genius. If he doesn't get a point tonight, then we can delete the segment.
Hey, I've wanted to delete a lot of segments, Andy. Let me tell you that.
Right?
Some of them on my my hard takes, and a lot of them are around. I talked about, and Andrew, I got a question for you. I talked about at the beginning of the season about the fact that the new GM coming in, who is the Calgary GM, oddly enough, that he got Matthew signed to a 4-year contract, so there was no white noise around that. And then this was the surprising one. He re-signed Sheldon Keefe, so he wasn't a lame duck coach this season, and there wasn't that white noise. Now I'm starting to wonder, Andrew, how bad was giving Sheldon Keefe a contract when he has proven nothing on this team? They won 1 playoff round against Tampa Bay. Yes, they have very good regular seasons, Toronto. He might have a winning record, but also um, a lot of that winning record came from when we were in the bubble, COVID, and Toronto played only against Canadian teams. They were playing Winnipeg, and they were playing Ottawa, and they were playing Montreal, and they accumulated all those wins and finishing, I think, first or second in that Canadian group in the bubble. This guy has yet to prove he can get this team to perform. And man, it's not an overreaction. We're 12, 13 games into the season, and this team is playing horrible. Any thoughts before we head over to the 6 and 60?
Carm, I've talked to a lot of coaches in different sports in my life, and a lot of high-level coaches will tell you, look across the board and look towards different coaches that you might think are good coaches. And the best coaches are the ones that can deal with adversity and play and build a team up, not just hold on to a team while they're already super skilled, right? And even in my personal life, I coach on the side for different sports. And I felt like the biggest challenge for me as a coach wasn't when I had great players and an awesome team, might have had a great record, was when I was coaching, a team that was just new to the game or just struggling, right? And I think that with Sheldon Keefe, we're finding out that maybe he isn't the best coach because the team is struggling. Like you said, he's been a part of the team that's had Matthews scoring hat tricks, breaking records, Marner, guys playing so strong. And then you talk about the bubble playing weak teams. He gets out-coached all the time. I mean, I used to talk about the general managers for the Leafs, but I think that when it comes down to it, you have to come out and actually coach a game and have a good line change, especially at home. You can't be getting out-coached at home when you get the last change. I saw PK Subban. He made a video on Twitter, and it was really, really good. I like what he said there. He pretty much talked about you have to utilize your bottom 6 a lot more than they are. And in the NBA, you can afford to have 3 players be the best on your team and go out there and carry the bulk of the scoring. I talk about it all the time. In the NHL, you have 4 line pairings. Look at Vegas. Look at what Minnesota did. Look at what certain teams have done with Ryan Reeves, Carm. They did not give Ryan Reeves 5 minutes a game. I might be making fun of him on Twitter and talking about how he's like a -7, but he only plays 5 minutes a game. Do you know how hard it is mentally as a player to stay focused on the bench and to stay warm when you're getting 5 minutes a game? 5 minutes a game. I'm not talking about 5 minutes a period. Some of these 4th line players are getting 6-7 minutes in the entire game. Meanwhile, Austin Matthews and Marner and those guys getting 22, 23 minutes. They're getting more than a period of ice time. Anyway, that's enough about this Leafs management team, but I think that this is a spot where they're going to show up because I think that they have Vancouver on deck tomorrow. They've been playing very poor defensively, but here's the thing. Calgary is not really knocking the socks off anybody offensively either, right? And I think the under 6.5 is in play in this one. The Leafs, when they play other strong offensive teams, they're going up and over the total. Even Buffalo, who struggled, they've got lots of speed, and they got into a 6-4 game against Toronto. But Calgary, I think, in their true identity, they're an under team. They're a defensive team. Jonathan Huberdeau has been getting benched. He makes $10.5 million a year. Their offense is clearly not clicking right now. So I will actually jump in with an under 6.5 Flames and Maple Leafs for my play on this game. Andy, we did prop it up earlier. We talked about NFL. We talked about a big play you have going this weekend. There's also some UFC action, though, Matt. I know you're going to be involved in that probably. What do you have going this weekend?
We got an NHL play that is up 9-5.
Oh. Keep going, Andy.
9-5 to start the season in NHL. So we're seeing the pucks really, really good. NBA is off to a good start. Last night I actually hit a NBA and NHL cross-sport parlay, which was really fun. Enjoyed that one. Again, fading the Minnesota Wild by taking the team total on their opponent. So a lot of good stuff going on. We do have a 5% NFL play that is up. Encourage everyone to take advantage of that. But I also encourage everyone to take advantage of 6 plays in 60 seconds, right, Carmen?
Thanks, Andy.
Thank you. Thank you, Andy. Nice save. I got Andy on the save props. So well done, Andy.
Over half a save. Cash it.
This show. Great to have you guys. Guys, we got to get this. We need, what's that thing that they bring you back to life with for the 6 and 60? We need to get some wins on this the defibrillator. My 6 and 60 needs a defibrillator, and we're going to do it, guys. Dan, cue the applause because I know I can knock this off in 60 seconds. Cue that clock whenever you're ready. Here we go. 6 and 60. Boston and Montreal, Bruins rolling and have won the last 10 games between them and the Montreal Canadiens. Bruins money line. Calgary and Ottawa, Flames on a second of a back-to-back after facing Toronto on Friday. They're 0-1 this season on back-to-backs and 2-5 on the road. I'm going to take Ottawa tonight. Ottawa tomorrow, money line. Carolina and Tampa, Canes winners of 5 of the last 6. Tampa's allowed 4 more in 5 of the last 6 games, going 2-4. Canes money line. Vancouver, Toronto, Canucks 5 straight wins and 4 with at least 5 goals. I'm taking the over in this one with the Leafs on a back-to-back over 6.5. Washington and the Islanders. Islanders have had a killer schedule and Caps on a back-to-back, but beat them 3-0 last Thursday. Islanders puck line. And then finally, St. Louis and Colorado. Avs dropped their first at home Thursday night to Seattle, but they dominated the Blues last Wednesday, beating them 4-1. Give me the Avs in regulation. That is your 6 and 60.
Ooh. All right. The crowd goes wild. Plenty of time to spare. Wild. How could I forget about that segment? Well, maybe it's Friday and I'm trying to get on with my day, but I can't forget about that segment. Great stuff there. 6 picks in 60 seconds. And I think it's really important to mention about just looking ahead, right? I think that what that segment really shows too is like Carm's doing his research. He's doing his work, not just for Friday's NHL slate, for Saturdays ahead of time, right, Carmen? The numbers move on that busy NHL slate.
Yeah, they do. Some of those games are may make my card on Saturday. I think a very good chance that 3, maybe 4 of those games make my card on Saturday. I still want you to get it, and with it, use this code. Melissa in our office, she is absolutely fantastic. I literally sent her a message before the 6 and 60. Can you put together a code CB20 to get $20 off a 3-day all access package? That's going to cover all plays today, tomorrow, and of course on Sunday. There's a ton of action, guys, across all sports, obviously football, soccer, NHL. Use that one. You drop it down to $49, and we're going to have a great weekend. I can feel it. We had a great weekend coming. As far as my free play on the show, we just talked about it a little while ago. The Flames and the Leafs tonight. This is strictly a form play. The Leafs are not in form right now. They've lost 5 of the last 6. Should probably be 6 of 6, but I'm glad they didn't lose that at one because I had them against Tampa. And the Flames, maybe this little 2-game mini streak here that they have is something to build off of. We'll see if they can do it tonight. Go into Toronto and knock off the Leafs at plus 130. That's your show best bet.
Flames plus 130. And guys, don't forget to get all of Carmine's plays over at WagerTalk.com. Should be a big weekend for the 3 of us. And Andy, I'm going to you again. And I want to say in our Slack group, when we put all of our plays, I always love when you put all caps when you're hoping a player does not do well. Yeah. Who do you think is going to have a rough night tonight?
I just want to be very clear and concise, and I want everyone to hear me when I type it in there. So we cashed this one earlier this week. I'm going to keep going back to TJ Oshie to not have a point. What a disaster season. He has 1 point this season in 11 games. He has 1 shot in the last 3 games. And this scoring slump goes back to last season. He had 2 points over the last 7 games. So this is a streak this season and going back to last season, 2 games that he's had a point out of the last 18. And listen, if you're taking a guy to not have a point, the Devils, they give up a lot of goals. And the 1 point that he did have was actually against this Devils team when they put up 6 goals, but they only did it on like 24 shots. Like the goaltending was just horrible in that one. Washington can't score. 4 goals in the last 3 games. They're barely averaging 2 goals a game. And when I had Oshie last game to not have a point, he just looks slow out there. It's not working for him. So I'm going to take TJ Oshie to not have a point tonight as my show best bet.
TJ Oshie to not get a point. That team is struggling. I'll tell you what. Yes, Carm.
Andrew, literally, I punched in our chat for everyone to have a great weekend because we love everyone who tunes in each and every week. And I always remind them to hit the like button. I said, hit the like button and we'll have Andy back. Our likes went from like 25 to 63 in a matter of seconds. So that just tells you how much they love Andy on the show.
Gotta love it. And it brings a whole new perspective. I'm cheering on guys to not have a good night. Andy, it's the opposite of cheering for someone to do well. Cheering for someone to not do very well. TJ Oshie did not have a point. As mentioned a few times today already, I do have a 5% CFL play going this weekend. NFL prop package on Sunday, of course. And looking at a good NHL Saturday tomorrow. A couple plays that stand out to me, but still lots of work to do on my research for the slate. I'm going to look at a shot prop for my best bet. We're going to go Cam Atkinson over 2.5 shots on goal. Current price, minus 135 on that one. He's facing the Anaheim Ducks. The Ducks last year were dead last in shots on goal against per game. This year, they're not doing well, but not as bad. They're 25th ranked, and I still feel like he's going to continue to shoot the puck. Anaheim gives up a ton of chances, and Cam Atkinson is a very, very important part of this Philadelphia Flyers team. So Atkinson over 2.5 shots on goal. My best bet for puck time for today. Guys, have a great weekend. We really appreciate all of you that tune in. And on the way out, please like this video. On behalf of Andy and Carmine, I'm Andrew. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on Monday.